Alright folks, hello and welcome back to Downstage Gaming. I am your host Josh, and this is part 2 of our Let's Play of Head as Code. When we last left off, we started out with Simon, I believe her name is. Woke up with a bit of amnesia. We're trapped in a metro station, going to different stations. We're here with Jasmine, about to solve an escape room, apparently. We're in something called the dating game. I don't know. A lot of things happened. A lot of exposition earlier. There's surely more to come. But we've just arrived into our new room, and I saw what you'd meant much earlier. I remember the station as being a completely different station. Inside, it was actually an infirmary. I was a little surprised by that. Perhaps I hadn't believed what the announcer told us before. Gotta have fun-themed rooms, Simon. Oh, there you are. This room has a lot of weird stuff. It's not weird, Jay. You haven't been in an infirmary before, have you? How could you never have been in an infirmary? I don't think so, no. I'm the picture of health. I already searched those drawers over there. I remembered that I needed to wash my hands after touching stuff in the tray, and I really needed. This is our main character here is a real germaphobe. There was a sink next to the counter, so I made a beeline for it. You know, that makes sense. I should have cleaned my hands too. You didn't? Ah! That's definitely a sin in one of our existing religions, I'm sure. Hey, hold up. I was gonna do so now that you reminded me of it. I'm not a heathen or anything. You better repent, that's right. Down on your knees, germ freak. I just meant to tease her, but I didn't know she took it that way. I came across pretty strong. Not too far, there was some sort of bed. It looked comfortable. Time to take another amnesia nap, I think. Hey, you don't mind if I take a nap, right? It'll be quick, just a few minutes. Not really. I'll go search somewhere else in this place for a while and then come back here later. I'll holler if something's wrong. Like if some slime monster crawls out of the sink now that I woke it up by running the faucet. Oh, that's just ridiculous now. And yet, she moved away. Did I finally get back at her? I didn't know. But one thing I knew, this bed was going to give me a good nap. Why are we doing this? Maybe that's why I didn't sleep on couches, too. No matter how comfortable they were, when I woke up, I always felt like shit. The rest was just what I needed. Now lying on the bed, I closed my eyes and drifted off. This game is just a series of walks to naps, is what I'm learning. The more I tried to sleep, the more I couldn't. This bed was remarkably uncomfortable. I didn't notice it until I was on it, but it was kinda hard, like if it had seen countless use and hardened with time. It was probably used for short examinations. Go figure. We were in an infirmary, not a luxurious hotel suite. I rose back up while grumbling some profanities. Oh shit, fuck ass. All in all, that entire process had taken a few minutes. I wondered what Jasmine was doing now, but she wasn't around. I didn't feel the need to call for her yet. Wait, maybe if I helped out the reason that we're here, that might be helpful. Yeah! This is a fairly spacious room, after all. Jasmine wouldn't have to do everything by herself. Then she'd be grateful, and it would be a successful date. This is a very weird way of thinking about this. That was probably just wishful thinking. I didn't think I could ever get to her level. Slapping my cheeks with both hands, I woke myself up. I tried to do it myself. Hang on, let's try again. There we go, it's a little better. It's hard with headphones on. Alright, Simon, now's the time. Time to search the shit out of this place. Yeah, man! Then call for it when I found something cool. Crack the code! Once again, that's very 999. Alright. Okay, we got a lot here. Well, let's start over here with this fun bar. This handrail has some screws. Wonder if I can somehow take them off. Need a tool, presumably. What's a map? So is this all the infirmary? We're here. I don't know what this is. Okay. Alright, interesting. It's a lot to explore then, if this is all. Alright, let's check out the bed. This bed was it's a bad bed. Bad bed. That was really all I had to say about it. This poster was made of crude drawings depicting weird things about the eye and the brain. Here's the eye, there's the brain. No, that's wrong! It was written in a language I didn't understand, or maybe it was just too complicated for me. Whoever drew this had no artistic talents whatsoever. That's kind of rude. What's up with this little fan? Fan was turned off, making this room a little hotter than it should have been. Could have thought up something cheesy like, it's hotter because Jasmine was here. But I didn't. I mean, you did. You did think it because you did think it. So, wait. Damn. I thought it up in the end since I had to think to point out I didn't. Alright. We're on the same page. Okay. Well, we've already looked there. Let's check some other places. Just a sink with cleaning supplies underneath it. Nothing worth noting. Okay. Up here. 3 shelves were mounted above the surface of the counter. Didn't know if anything on them would be useful. There were some glasses, a radio for some reason, pill bottles, a box. Nothing I could really combine or use in any way. I mean, we could combine some pill bottles. I just don't think that would help. This escape room sucked. Even if it weren't timed, it still felt as though I wasted some time with this side. Also, made me wonder about the purpose to all this. This was called the dating game. Why would they put us in a room that encouraged us to split up? Wouldn't the idea be that we'd cooperate by doing something together? I mean, ideally, in an escape room, you are cooperating by sort of splitting up and communicating, but usually that's only necessary because you're timed. Shook my head. Back to the search. Alright, let's try getting in here. I assume it's locked. Yep, cupboard's locked. No, wait. Only one of the doors was locked. The other opened after I messed with it a little bit. Inside was just a coin, nothing big. The coin itself was a little bigger than a $2 coin. It's a weird way of pluralizing that. On it was a large engraved 8. Was it worth $8? I'm rich. No way. Coins were worth up to 2 and no more. There's no culture in which coins are worth more than 2. Still, it seemed useful for something or another, so I pocketed it. Alright, so we can use the coins to get these screws and undo the bar, I guess? The 8 coin I found earlier unscrewed the screws, preventing me from getting screwed out of whatever it hid. Ha 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 ha. Inside one of the ends was a small USB stick. Interesting. Probably safe to call Jasmine over since I'd found something important. I could also take a look around the room some more if I really wanted. I mean, I guess let's make sure there's nothing else here. If I could take off the grating of the blades, which I couldn't, I wouldn't fit in there. Now that with Jasmine, most likely as a result of all the cake she loved to eat. So, this is very judgy, Simon. Someday I need to tell her to lay off eating more, since it just made her butt. Well, make up your mind. Do you like it or not? Figured some people might think that's a good thing, but her health's up. When your butt gets too big, you're done. It was still just a sink. It even worked correctly. Both faucets made water flow, but it was still a sink and nothing else. We're gonna get to the bottom of this sink mystery right here. So shiny, though. I can see my face reflected in the sink. This was a marvelous sink. One of the best I've ever seen. I was lost in my own image. Time passed. I didn't feel... Are we gonna get like a bad end here? All I could see was the sink. All there was in this world was the sink. Praise be to the sink. Wait, what the hell? For a moment I felt like my existence was slipping away. One of God's commandments was to not worship false deities. It's true. In that moment I decided to take that advice and get back to the search. Alright, anything else in the cupboard? I wonder why this was called a cupboard. Was it because people first put cups inside of them? That would make sense. But that's not a board. That's a box. Wouldn't it be better to call them cup boxes? Cup boxes? The surface of the counter was so shiny. This had to be cleaned with the utmost precision. You really are a clean freak, Simon. I don't know what's going on here. Too bad there was nothing else of interest there. Alright, I'll call her over now. Hey, Jay! How fareth thine searcheth? I heard some rustling from a nearby area. Simon sucks. I'm gonna go ahead and put my flag right there, right now, that Simon sucks. Soon enough, Jasmine wandered back into the section, clutching in her hand a key. Maybe we can unlock this cupboard here. Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? I hold in mine grasp an object of value, with which thine heart I may unlock so. Hey, whoa! You're Jasmine, not Juliet. Hey, now! With her fists pushed onto her hips, looking annoyed, she stared at me like I just ruined a joke. I mean, especially since we started the joke. Remember what I said about the nicknames? Oh, shit, she was right. Okay. You're Jay, not Jay. Get it? Because they began the same way? And you're not Romeo at all, either. I bet he'd have swept me right off my feet. Cleared my throat while she moved again, this time looking for something on one of the cupboard doors. Perhaps I could have swept her off her feet, but only in the metaphorical sense. Looking for something? I just finished looking around this place. Yeah, a lock. Right here. I think I found it. She inserted the key into it. Turning it, she opened the cupboard, taking out a strange tablet. She looked behind it. There's something there. I could probably get it by breaking this thing in half, but we might need it later. Oh, it's got a touchscreen. I wonder if... I touched it, but it didn't light up. Jasmine and I examined the side. I figured it needed the USB stick I found in the wall. After plugging it in, I tried my earlier maneuver again. The screen lit up at contact, surprising Jasmine. Oh, yeah, it's opening, but the slot in the back didn't, though. Only the electronics are booting up. Damn. Pretty lady such as thou shouldn't uttereth these vile vociferations? I don't know that word. You know, adding the at the end of the word doesn't automatically make it correct Old English. She completely disregarded the rest of what I said. Keep your eyes on the prize, S. Couldn't see what she was staring at, since she had the screen of the tablet aimed at herself. From what I could see of her expression, she was very puzzled. What is it? It's kind of like a puzzle, I guess? I can't make heads or tails of it. There are 3 numbers. 2 of them aren't set, and the middle one is static. In the middle is the number 9. Both numbers on the sides have an arrow pointing towards it. I can change the numbers on the side, but not the middle one. I thought I had to make the number 9 by combining 2 different numbers, but that's wrong. That was my initial thought too, Jasmine. Well done. Do you think we absolutely have to do it? Most escape rooms contain optional puzzles. Sort of side puzzles, just for funsies. You probably have to. The rooms have these silly puzzles sometimes. What's inside the tablet will probably help us. Maybe we'll even get the code for the keypads leading back out. She tried again and again, but she only got frustrated with it. Ugh. Have a shot at it if you want. Oh, I want. She left the tablet on the counter and stormed off. Maybe deep inside she had the same worry as me about looking useless. Okay. I assume the colors here are interesting. Plucked the tablet and looked at it. There were 3 numbers which reminded me of an analog clock, but other than that, there was another detail that was weird. The leftmost number was blue, the rightmost number was red, and the one in the middle was just kind of weird. The upper, middle, bottom, and lower right lines were purple, while the others were blue and red too. Huh, okay. I have a theory, but it doesn't work with the top line. Because you would assume that blue and red make purple, right? So it's gonna be purple any place that... But that doesn't quite work, because, like, there's a line here, and a blue line here, and that's just blue here. Alright. She totally didn't mention that. We did not mention the obvious important part, Jasmine. Maybe she thought it wasn't important? I could tell the middle number was 9, though. I tried the same thing she did. No dice. Surely the colors were important then. Oh! The areas were purple because it was blue laid over red. But that's not true everywhere. Like, obviously this is red because there's no blue here. But then this should be purple. And this shouldn't be purple. So that meant the numbers I had to enter were 5 and 3 for blue and red respectively. Bingo. Okay, alright, I just don't get to do it? What is this? Hey, Jay, come back. Look, it's working. It's opening. She came back just as I opened the back slot. Inside was a piece of paper with a bunch of incomprehensible scribbles. Oh, that's exactly what I need. Something stumped me over there, too. Give me that. Without waiting for any sort of objection, she snatched it from me. I set the tablet aside now that it had, apparently, done what it was meant to do. I'll be right back. I think we're almost out of here. Well, this is quick. I patiently waited. After I took a seat and several moments passed, Jasmine came back wearing a bright and brimming smile. Yep. The whole thing is open now. The whole thing? I unlocked all the doors. I also found something else. Some kind of remote with no purpose here. But, it's the kind of thing I think we should share with the others, so I'll show you at the lounge. Alright, if you say so. Set off towards the set of doors, but Jasmine stopped me with a hand around my wrist. Wait, before we leave, I have to show you something. I would wait until your amnesia is gone, but it's kind of really important, so I can't leave it up to chance. She looked fairly worried. I had no choice, and my curiosity was piqued anyway. Okay, this is that other room that was on the map. She led me to a room that had previously been locked off. It was somewhat featureless, except for the clear indicators that this was a one-way deal. Or perhaps it was just supposed to tell us to stop. I was about to walk in when Jasmine shook her head, keeping a tight hold on my arm. See these scanners? Apparently they check if we have the 9th person with us. That's who we're trying to find, by the way. We need to find the 9th person to leave. Otherwise... Jasmine dragged her finger across her neck in a motion that left little to the imagination. Yeah, okay, I get you. But what now then, if this isn't where we have to go? So this is sort of like the main exit, but we have to exit with the 9th person, or otherwise we get offed. Now, we're going back to the lounge. See, we can't go to these stations with more than 2 people at once, but we can for the lounge. It's a bit like our base of operations. More information. My head hurt again, as if I was trying to remember something. Seeing as she was walking again, I followed after her. We went back down the stairs, but this time we were on the other side of the station below. The reason was simple. We were going back, not forward. It took very little time, and the train arrived. We boarded in silence, even if I could tell Jasmine looked at me from time to time, worried over my amnesia. This time, she didn't say a word, though. No conversation topics. Not this time. It's just like she said. If all my memories came back at once, it would be pretty painful, especially if I'd built new ones. Is this how You would feel like with how many video games use amnesia as a plot point that I would have a good understanding of amnesia. Is this actually how amnesia works? Is that, like... You don't want to, like, remember everything all at once because that would hurt you? I don't know, that seems weird. Especially if I built new ones. It was better to not force it. Just like before, the train drove through each station. Just like before, the train opened its doors at a station, waited a little, then closed them again to resume its movements. The cycle repeated a few times until we arrived all the way back at the lounge. As the announcer had said its name, I now knew this was the leisure, or lounge, station, which, according to Jasmine, replaced the one at the center between all colored lines. Okay. Or most of them, at least. I still couldn't wrap my head around how this huge, sprawling, very populated station could be a lounge now. Did Smiley pull some strings so nobody would be allowed to use the metro at all during this day? Everyone, it's no metro day. Walking only. Or maybe this was happening during the night, since every day the metro stopped running for a couple hours for maintenance. It sounds like they've been here longer than a couple hours. No, they'd still need to renovate this whole place. Time to go. Jasmine's words took me out of my thoughts, and I left the train alongside her. If we didn't leave it now, it would drive off again. I hope the others came back too. If not, well, we'll just figure out what we'll do then. And we'll have the lounge just for ourselves. Let's go. Wasn't sure if that was good or bad. I mean, of course it was good. It was really great even. But, it had been 4 years since I saw her. Being with her like this made me feel lightheaded. If it weren't for this weird staircase, if it wasn't for the infirmary, if it wasn't for the lounge, yeah, if it wasn't for all those weird things, it would be just us, walking together, taking the train, going to places, and hanging out. This headache was getting worse and worse. I was probably on the cusp of remembering something about the situation. Held my forehead with a hand. There was no hiding it from Jasmine. She came by with a big smile on her face. She meant to be reassuring, but I could tell she was a little worried too. Still, it was the thought that was important. No one here. At any rate, I'll go back downstairs to wait for them. Go ahead and have a real lie down this time if you want. No one's gonna bother you. They won't get through me. Once again, she flashed me a smile. Once again, I was putty in her hands. Oh, Jasmine. I awkwardly rubbed the back of my head, embarrassed that I had to rely on other people so much. It's not something to be embarrassed about, Simon. The most cowardly part about this was how I wanted her to stay here too. Don't leave me. But I couldn't bring myself to ask her, and I instead went with what she suggested. This is probably why I was still single. Always running away. Always uncertain about what I wanted to do. Always getting amnesia. This job I had, these studies I went through, they were all because I wasn't sure. I took up artistic studies because Jasmine went for them. So you haven't seen her in 4 years, but you've determined like a good portion of your life based upon her? I studied with her abroad because she decided to do it, and I didn't want to let her go alone. I didn't want to let go of her. When she finished and decided to start working, I moved back and studied more, frozen in my indecision. Okay, makes some sense. Couldn't go with the kind of job she was doing. I hadn't been convinced it was correct back then. And that had caused me to let go of her completely as I moved back to Montreal from Vancouver. Because I couldn't move forward, it cost me Jasmine 4 years ago. Of course, now I regret everything, and now, at least, she was right here. I could finally right the wrongs of my past. Well, okay then. I'll see you in a bit. And I never saw Jasmine again. Once all was said and done, she left the area, and I was free to snore away. Uh-oh. That's what I would have liked to happen, at least. But the muffled sound I heard coming from the station wouldn't allow it. I fell off the couch I'd been sitting on and scrambled to my feet in panic. What was that noise? It was a little like, kind of reminding me of a gunshot. That is what it sounded like a muffled gunshot. I had a sudden thought for Jasmine. She was downstairs, right? Quickly, I went there, running down the stairs faster than I'd ever done. I almost tripped on the way. Complete klutz. I looked out the open doorway and a train was driving away. I only just caught a glimpse of someone inside it, but I couldn't tell who it was. All I saw was a flash of cyan. Whoever that person was, they had fired a shot. Was it a warning shot? Or something worse? My mind was swimming with awful possible scenarios. I mentally cursed myself. No, I couldn't imagine the worst until I'd seen it. Until then, it wasn't the worst. Life had a way of robbing you of hope the moment you think you have it. Once the train drove off, I could see something odd. Something that didn't belong. Out from the darkness of the little passage, I saw a pair of legs. Purple tights. Those were purple tights. Just a quick reminder again, just, that, you know, there's some content warning here, so I don't know what we're gonna see, but... Jasmine? No answer. At this point, I cared little for the letter nicknames. Jas. Is that you? Someone was here. Still no answer. At first, I thought it would suck if Jasmine had been the one who fired the gun, but that meant maybe she could have been in the train. Maybe she would have been fine. Then again, maybe she was. Part of me thought perhaps she just knocked herself out by dodging the shot, or maybe she was playing dead until the gun wielder had gone. I couldn't be sure until I took a closer look. It took all the will to gather up my courage for this, to look reality in the face. Jasmine? Answer me already! I shakily approached her, and then I knelt down the dark area to stare down at her and see for myself how she was. She'd be okay, right? Just as quickly, I stumbled backwards until my body hit the large screen. I fell over in surprise, only to get back up, unable to believe it. That sight, that grim fucking sight, was unmistakable. Now I was confronted with the worst scenario I imagined. Jasmine, you're... She was dead. She was dead. Jasmine, the bright, vivacious girl I'd known since childhood, was dead. Both of my hands held my face in the shock of the moment. I couldn't scream. I tried, but nothing would come out. The realization was far harsher than I could ever have imagined. I didn't want to face the truth anymore. A lie was better. I wanted to run away, but I was frozen there. I just couldn't move, even if, deep inside, I wanted to run away from this reality. What I was seeing was real, right? Jasmine was dead. Jasmine was dead, and I wouldn't see her again. Jasmine was dead, and I wouldn't hear her speak again. I just realized that I literally made the joke as she was leaving that I would never see her again, and I'm cursed, is what's happening here. To top it all off, her killer was on the loose. I kept repeating in my head. I couldn't believe it. I finally moved, but it was all pointless. I balled in my hands and my fists, then relaxed them. I was trembling. I had no tears, no matter how much I tried to cry. I couldn't. I just couldn't shed a single one. I was in shock, unable to breathe. I was too horrified by the truth, terrified by it, so terrified. A coward through and through. At that moment, I remembered she'd mentioned something about a remote, but there had been nothing like that on her when I checked her. Had it been taken by the person who shot her square in the head? How would they know that she had had it, though? What was the reason behind her murder? That stupid remote? I had no clue what was going on. I couldn't even fathom what had happened. Perhaps due to my amnesia, I'd forgotten something important. I'd forgotten who the culprit might have been. Important clues. I needed to remember them. Maybe things would be clear when I got my memory back, and maybe Jasmine wouldn't be dead, and maybe this was just a nightmare, and maybe... It said, "You don't know what you have till it's gone." I felt a chill run up my spine, because that message had been aimed at me. No wonder the words had felt so ominous earlier. But if I remembered, maybe I could figure it out and make them pay. Would that bring her back? No, but... All of a sudden, as I contemplated these words, an earthquake took place, shaking the room. I quickly lost my footing. Ugh! What's happening? What the hell? I managed to catch myself as I fell, only to roll over under the continued movement. I slammed into a wall and gave a small scream of pain. Perhaps it was a result of the shock and the hit on my head. That was what triggered my memory to come back. It all came back at once, leaving me breathless for several moments. All of this began right here in the metro. My vision was filled with 4 colors. Blue, orange, green, and yellow were all I could see. Okay, so presumably, if what we said before, this is where the lounge is. There was also black, but black might really just be the absence of color, or all colors at once. Some colors were missing, so it wasn't a rainbow. I was just staring blankly. My eyes followed the colored lines slowly. First the green, then I followed the blue, the yellow, and finally the orange one. That was the one I was on. All I could see were the 4 colors. That was because my eyes were fixated upon the poster in the train. I didn't know why I was looking at it. I'd been spacing out. Now it's back to reality, though. What was that weird dream just now? It was so strange. It was in the metro, and... No, I couldn't remember already. It wasn't important then. I tried to remember why I had been looking at the map. Right, I was taking the train with Marco. I was looking at the map to the metro because I hadn't taken it this far ever before. Didn't want to miss our stop. I was going to fetch her at the airport and... No, wait, I was coming back from there, as evidenced by the fact Jasmine was already here. She flew all the way from Vancouver, where she lived as a graphics designer. She and I had gone through school together up to college. We took the same course at the Artistic Institute of Vancouver, and then we went our own separate ways. While I came back home to study further by taking courses at the University of Montreal, she remained there. That meant she and I hadn't seen each other for years. As for Marco, he'd never met her, obviously. Not face to face, anyway. I mentioned her a few times, which always made him crack some horrible, stupid joke. This was their first time talking together. At least, it was their first time sharing space together, because nobody out of the 3 of us was saying anything. It's always hard to get 2 separate friend groups together, I get it. Naturally, this was the metro, so most people were quiet. If we'd said anything, we'd be drowned out by the noise coming from the metro moving. Some people didn't care, though, such as a group of 5 teens close by, these dang teens. If I strained my ear, I could almost make out what they were saying. Shooting a glance at them, I saw one of them had long pink hair and 2 pigtails. That's you. I looked back at Jasmine, who had the same hair color. Of course, those weren't natural. It was just dye. You could tell Jasmine's real hair color was brown, since her eyebrows were that color, and she didn't dye those. I kind of liked her better with brown hair, personally. colors again. My thoughts were back on the subject of colors. I'm a big color freak. I don't know. Maybe I just turned into a zombie from waiting in the metro this long. The announcer spoke the name of the station we were at, but it wasn't our stop. I dismissed it, pulling myself to the side a little to avoid a woman leaving the train. Right afterwards, 2 men entered and took our place. Both were businessmen who probably had a lot of success, judging by their very stern allure. Hello. Meanwhile, I was just a pizza delivery man. I was also a student, but that wasn't quite true. Well, that had been the case before 3 p.m. today. Now I was entirely free from university. Graduation day, huh? Assuming I passed my exams anyway. Finally, I'd have my bachelor's degree and I'd start getting real jobs in what I wanted to do instead of this service for ingrates. Hey, I'd always tip my pizza people well. The idea did make me quite giddy, and it was the reason why Jasmine was here too. Tonight we were going to party because not only did I finish my exams, but so did Marco. That meant we potentially had a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in the same apartment. Granted, mine was in fine arts, and his degree was in some science thing I never understood. I picked up some party games we could play on the Nimbus, the multi-platform game store. Okay. It's like Cloud and Nimbus. Okay. Hopefully that would be a hit. The real hit was not having any more stress from dealing with exams, tests, and homework. I was now my own man. That thought was reassuring me, because I wasn't the strongest guy at heart. Could you believe it? 24 years old, and I still felt like an insecure teenager. Pressed my hand against my cheek, dragging it down a little while exhaling. Some girl further down the train looked at me strangely. She had no idea of what I truly felt. Once again, the train stopped. It did that every few minutes, depending on how far apart the stations were. Walking from one to the other would take ages, so this was great, but this place was always so damn cramped. The woman leaving earlier had left some vacant space, but since she was replaced by 2 men, not much came from it. Normally I was sitting, and it was a lot more relaxing, but now I was on my 2 feet. Public transportation is the absolute worst. You're not going to get any disagreement from me here, Simon. I was also holding onto the pole in the middle to keep my balance. I hated that. Germs! Covered in germs! Need to wash my hands soon. At least things got better not long ago when everyone finally realized it was a good idea to disinfect. Some people were even rocking the face masks still. It had been over a year since that stuff ended, though. Had it? Had it? Oh, listen. If I had made this game in 2020, maybe I would have said the same thing, my friend. Oh, no. So many topics were flying through my head. Was I really no longer stressed out? I didn't know, to be honest. But luck had it that this stop had an elderly woman walking out of the train. It had been occupied before, and now it was vacant. As usual, some kind of psychological warfare was instantly triggered. Everyone would be going for that seat. Of course, those who needed it had priority. Thankfully, I was the closest to the seat, so I took a quick glance to see if anybody who needed it was going to take it. The coast was seemingly clear. The businessmen were looking at their folders and exchanging hushed words. Business, 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 business. The group of teens from earlier were on the other side, so them coming here was just a pipe dream. They wouldn't go for it. It's too far. Bunch of people didn't even notice. They were out of the match as well. I noticed all that very quickly. Quite an observant fellow, Simon. It was stupid how my attention processed all those details so well in moments like these, but not during my exams. Hey, you got street smarts. That's good. Ultimately, sitting down was meaningless. I knew that. Yet, I took the seat anyway before anybody else could. Not even going to offer it to your friends or guest that you are in love with. Deep inside, I was triumphant. It was a hollow victory, but a victory nonetheless. You had to take them where you could get them. I could tell I won something or another when Marco took a glance at me, as he apparently had been pining for the seat too. Good thing he sucks. Better luck next time, buddy. What a great friendship. Simon 1, Marco 0. Still, we were all ways away from home, which meant the battle I won didn't win me the war yet. While we got to each station very quickly, we had a number of them between now and then. I looked at the clock to ascertain the time, since I'd left as soon as my exams had been over. It was 5 p.m. I still couldn't believe it took around 2 hours to head to the airport, pick up Jasmine, and come back with public transport. It might have been faster had I possess my own car, but I wasn't that lucky. I could barely afford my studies. Still, since we were a decent way off, I figured it wouldn't be a bad idea if I took a small bit of rest. This is the sleepiest protagonist of any story. Nothing fancy, just closing my eyes. Nothing fancy, really. I mean, I'm like having trouble even processing this. Like, he gets this friend who he hasn't seen in 40 years from the airport. They're traveling together in this public transportation. And instead of having any conversation at all, he sits down and goes to sleep. It was as normal a situation as they came, and yet, this was still how all this business started. On April 22nd, 2022, I was sitting in the metro, minding my own business. Nothing fancy. Yet when I closed my eyes, all movement ceased. The train stopped moving completely. I didn't feel the presence of anyone around me anymore. It was like time stood still. Or maybe I was asleep. That was the likeliest explanation. Must have been really tired, but as I was drifting off, something grabbed me back. It was a voice. A girl was talking. I'd never heard that voice before, though. Was it the train announcer? No, that was an older lady. This was a youthful voice. Who was it? Could barely hear it. She repeated herself louder this time. Listen, if you stay asleep like that, we're gonna be in trouble. Asleep? I wasn't asleep. I could hear what she was saying. Couldn't she see that? My body felt like lead anyway. I couldn't stand up just yet. So, wake up already. Are you okay? Train stopped. She was so insistent, too. Who was this girl? Never heard this voice before. As the seconds passed, my body became operational again. I felt stiff all over, as if I'd been deep in sleep. Perhaps she was right. Maybe I dozed off really hard there. Hey! Wake up already! My eyes finally open. I mean, honestly, again, all that being said, if you pick up two friends, don't talk to them, sit down, don't give them the seat, and then fall asleep, you deserve to be trapped in some sort of psychological escape room horror game. My eyes finally open. It seemed as though I'd fallen asleep indeed. It was embarrassing, but now I couldn't deny it. I took a look around and noticed things were just as she said. The train had stopped. It never came to a standstill like this unless it offloaded a few of its passengers or if it was no longer in service for the day. Huh? The girl next to me was Jasmine. For some reason, I couldn't put a face to her voice before, but now it became all too apparent. I was still a little too groggy for my nap, so I chose to listen to her before doing any sort of exploration. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I'm pretty weirded out. I sat down for a moment, and right after that, I was alone here with you. It seemed like that fact was making her embarrassed too, because her cheeks took on a slightly rosy tint. Had to assume she wasn't lying about it then. Classic Jasmine lies. I have no idea where Marco is. This is a bother. Oh, bother. Did he leave us behind? No, he's not the type. He's probably waiting outside to jump scare us. I swear, this is not normal. I sat down, and right then, everyone else vanished in the span of a single moment, I tell you. Okay, I get it. So you fell asleep too, and... No, my eyes were open. Sure, I teased her. For a moment, I thought I got through to her, but she shook her head with an exasperated sigh. My companion threw out her arm to expose the rest of the train. This place is very strange. Feel free to have a quick look around before we go. Don't worry, we have plenty of time. I woke up several minutes ago and it still hasn't moved. Woke up, is that right? So you did sleep. Oh, shut up. Either way, I decided to conduct my own search around this place. The strange panel in the back of the train was especially interesting. When I'd be done, I'd just go for the exit. Alright, well, we are going to have to do some exploration of this train next time. It's interesting. So we've kind of gone from a sort of in media res moment back to what is probably the beginning of all of this. So I'm interested to see where this goes from here. So we will explore this train next time. Until then, this has been Downstage Gaming. I've been your host, Josh, and I will catch you all next time.